The New Year's Eve party was in full swing at my parents' house when it happened. My mother had insisted on hosting as she did every year, despite the fact that her home was now significantly smaller than the house my daughter owned. Downsizing had been hard on them after my father's layoff, moving from their sprawling suburban home to this modest townhouse. But tradition was tradition, and I'd learned to pick my battles carefully over the years. The living room was crowded with family members. My sister Jennifer and her husband occupied the love seat near the fireplace. My brother Mark sat at the dining table with his girlfriend, both of them scrolling through their phones between conversations. The coffee table was covered with appetizers my mother had spent 2 days preparing, determined to prove that a smaller house didn't mean a smaller celebration. My son Lucas, age 12, had been excited about his gift for weeks. He'd saved his allowance from helping his father with yard work and carefully chosen a vintage fountain pen for my father, who collected them. Lucas had spent hours researching online, reading reviews on collector forums to make sure it was a Parker duofold from the 1930s, one my father didn't already have. He'd even had it professionally cleaned and restored at a specialty shop downtown, spending extra money he'd earned from tutoring younger students in math. When gift exchange time came, Lucas proudly handed the wrapped box to his grandfather. My father opened it with his usual gruff efficiency, barely glancing at the pen inside. He said, setting it aside. My mother leaned over to look. Her expression shifted to something cold. We don't keep presents from children who aren't real family. The room went silent. My sister Jennifer stopped mid-conversation. My brother Mark's fork froze halfway to his mouth. Lucas blinked twice. His face stayed neutral, though I saw his jaw tighten slightly. He'd learned that tell from me over the years. Then my daughter Emma stood up from where she'd been sitting quietly in the corner, checking her phone. At 24 she had her father's height and my stubborn streak. She set her wine glass down with precise care. Just like we don't keep employees who insult the CEO's kids, she said, her voice pleasant and conversational. My parents' faces drained of color at the same time. Emma, my mother started, her voice thin. No, I think we should clarify something, Emma continued. She looked at Lucas. Are you okay? He nodded. I'm fine. Good. Emma turned back to my parents. Because I want to make sure everyone understands the situation clearly. My father cleared his throat. Emma, sweetheart, your mother didn't mean. She meant exactly what she said, Emma interrupted. Lucas isn't biologically related to you, so in her view he's not real family. She's made that clear multiple times over the past 3 years. The comments about him not being invited to family photos. The separate table at Thanksgiving. The suggestions that he call you by your first names instead of grandma and grandpa. Jennifer shifted uncomfortably. She'd witnessed those moments too but had never said anything. Emma, let's not do this now, my mother said, forcing a smile. It's New Year's Eve. We're all family here. Are we? Emma asked. Because 3 minutes ago, you explicitly stated that Lucas is not real family. I finally found my voice. Mom, you need to apologize to Lucas. For what? For being honest. My mother's defenses were going up. He's your husband's son from a previous relationship. That's just a fact. We're not blood related to him. And you're not blood related to Dad's company either, Emma said quietly. But that hasn't stopped you from working there for the past 18 months. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. My father stood up. That's completely different. I've worked in corporate finance for 30 years. And you were unemployed for 2 years before Emma hired you, I said, finally understanding where my daughter was going with this. Both of you were. After my father's firm downsized in 2022, he struggled to find work. At 63, he was considered too old by most companies, despite his impressive resume and decades of corporate finance experience. The rejection letters piled up. The interviews went nowhere. The networking events led only to polite brush-offs. My mother, who had worked as his executive assistant for years at the same firm, was let go at the same time. They both faced the harsh reality of age discrimination in a market that valued youth over experience. Emma had graduated from Stanford that spring with dual degrees in computer science and business administration. She'd taken over as CEO of the medical software company her late father founded 12 years earlier. The company, Meditech Solutions, developed patient management systems for hospitals and had grown to employ over 300 people across 4 states. One of Emma's first actions after assuming control was creating 2 new positions: Chief Financial Consultant and Executive Office Manager, custom design roles that matched my parents' skills while accommodating their age and experience level. She'd hired them both, offering salaries that exceeded what they'd made at their previous jobs. "You've both been collecting 6-figure salaries from my company," Emma continued. "Plus benefits. Plus the use of a company car for Dad. Plus the executive healthcare plan that covered Mom's knee surgery last year." My mother's hand went to her knee automatically. "Emma, we've earned those positions," my father insisted. "I've saved the company significant money with the new accounting protocols." "Which is why I haven't fired you yet," Emma said. "Despite the multiple HR complaints." That was news to me. I looked at my daughter sharply. "HR complaints?" Emma pulled out her phone and scrolled through it. 3 formal complaints in the past year. 2 from junior staff members who overheard derogatory comments about Lucas at company events. 1 from the facilities manager, who witnessed an incident at the holiday party where Grandma refused to include Lucas in the family photo for the company newsletter. "Those were personal matters," my mother protested. "Not company business. You were at company events, representing my executive team, making my family look prejudiced and cruel." Emma's voice was still calm, but there was steel underneath. "Do you know how that reflects on the company culture I'm trying to build?" Jennifer finally spoke up. "Emma, I'm sure Mom didn't mean it the way it sounded." "She meant it exactly the way it sounded," Lucas said quietly. We all turned to him. "It's okay. I'm used to it." That broke my heart more than anything else that evening. Emma walked over and put her hand on Lucas's shoulder. "You shouldn't have to be used to it. You're my brother. You've been part of this family for 3 years. The fact that you came from Dad's previous relationship doesn't make you less family than I am." My parents exchanged a look. My mother tried a different tactic. "Emma, you have to understand. We raised you. We knew your father. This boy just showed up when your mother remarried." "This boy has a name," I said sharply. "And he didn't show up. I married his father. We became a family. You were invited to be part of that family. You chose to draw lines instead." "We have a right to our feelings," my father said. "You do," Emma agreed. "And I have a right to decide who represents my company, who I trust to uphold the values Dad built this company on. He always said that family, chosen or biological, was everything." He paused, letting that sink in. "Dad would be ashamed of how you've treated Lucas," Emma continued. "He would never have tolerated this kind of exclusion. He would have stood up for him immediately." My mother's eyes filled with tears. "Don't you dare tell me what my son-in-law would have thought." "Your son-in-law left me a company worth $200 million, Emma said flatly. "He left detailed succession plans. He left value statements and cultural guidelines. And nowhere in any of those documents did he suggest that love should be conditional on genetics." The room was completely silent now except for the muted sound of televised New Year's celebrations from someone else's party outside. Emma looked at her phone again. "It's 11:30. I'm going to give you both a choice. You can apologize sincerely to Lucas right now. You can acknowledge that he is part of this family and deserves to be treated with the same respect you show everyone else. Or you can plan to clean out your offices on January 2nd. You can't fire us over a personal disagreement," my father blustered. "I can fire you for violating company harassment policies," Emma corrected. "I can fire you for creating a hostile environment. I can fire you for conduct unbecoming of executive-level staff. I have 3 documented HR complaints and about a dozen witnesses to tonight's incident alone." My brother Mark, who'd been silent this entire time, finally spoke. "Jesus Christ, Mom. Just apologize. This is insane." "Stay out of this, Mark," my mother snapped. "No, he's right," Jennifer added. "You've been horrible to Lucas. We've all seen it. We just didn't want to make waves." My mother looked around the room, finally realizing she had no allies left. "This is ridiculous. We're being blackmailed by a 24-year-old. "I'm the 24-year-old who signs your paychecks," Emma said. "I'm the 24-year-old who approved your healthcare that cost the company $40,000 last year. I'm the 24-year-old who gave you both jobs when no one else would hire you. She walked over to Lucas and knelt so she was eye level with him. Do you want to stay at this party? He shook his head. Can we just go home? Absolutely. She stood up and looked at me. Mom, get your coat. We're leaving. I started gathering our things. My husband texted that he was outside with the car. He'd wisely stayed home from this particular gathering, knowing my parents still hadn't fully accepted our marriage. If you walk out that door, don't expect to be welcomed back, my father said, his voice tight with anger. Emma paused at the doorway. I own a 4-bedroom house with a guest suite. Mom and Lucas and James are welcome there anytime. You two, on the other hand, might want to spend the weekend updating your resumes. Emma, please, my mother's voice cracked. Don't do this. Not over him. His name is Lucas, Emma repeated. And I'm not doing this over him. I'm doing this because of you. Because you've shown me exactly who you are, and I don't want people like that representing my company or my family. We left. Behind us, I could hear my mother crying and my father arguing. Jennifer was trying to mediate. Mark was telling them they'd brought this on themselves. In the car, Lucas was quiet. Emma sat in the back with him, her arm around his shoulders. I'm sorry, he finally said. I didn't mean to cause problems. You didn't cause anything, Emma said firmly. They did. And they're going to face consequences for it. Are you really going to fire them? I asked, looking at her in the rearview mirror. If they don't apologize and commit to change, yes. She wasn't bluffing. I could hear it in her voice. Dad built that company on principles of respect and inclusion. I'm not going to let anyone compromise that. Not even family. Especially not family, James added from the driver's seat. Family should know better. We spent the rest of New Year's Eve at Emma's house. He ordered pizza. We watched the ball drop on TV. Lucas taught us a card game he'd learned at school. It was quiet and peaceful, nothing like the dramatic party we'd left behind. At midnight, Emma raised her glass of sparkling cider. To family, she said. The kind we choose and the kind that chooses us back. We all drank to that. My phone buzzed constantly throughout the evening. My mother, my father, Jennifer, Mark. I ignored them all until the next morning. On January 1st, I finally listened to the voicemails. My father's voice was stiff and formal. Emma, your mother and I would like to schedule a meeting. We need to discuss appropriate professional boundaries. Delete. My mother, crying. How can you do this to us? After everything we've done for you. Delete. Jennifer, more measured. I told them they need to apologize. Really apologize. I hope they listen. I texted her back. Thank you for trying. Mark sent a text. They're idiots. Lucas is a good kid. See you at the office on Monday. He worked in Emma's marketing department. I replied, definitely. On January 2nd, my parents showed up at Emma's office. I know because she called me afterward. They apologized, she said. Sort of. Dad acknowledged that their comments were inappropriate. Mom said she'd been stressed and didn't mean to hurt Lucas. That's not really an apology, I observed. No, it's not, Emma agreed. But I told them they have 90 days probation. One more incident, one more comment, one more exclusionary behavior toward Lucas or anyone else, and they're done. I've also mandated that they both attend the company's diversity and inclusion training. How did they take that? About as well as you'd expect. But they agreed. They need the jobs more than their pride. What about Lucas? He gets to decide if he wants to accept their apology or not. I told them they need to apologize directly to him in person with no excuses or justifications. Just a real acknowledgement of harm and a commitment to do better. They did eventually apologize to Lucas. It took 3 weeks and a family therapy session that Emma insisted on and paid for. The apology was awkward and clearly difficult for them, but Lucas accepted it with more grace than they deserved. Things are still strained. My parents are careful now, watching their words. They include Lucas in photos. They remember his birthday. They're trying, even if it's motivated more by job security than genuine affection. But Emma was right about one thing. Family should know better. And when they don't, sometimes the youngest and most successful among us have to teach them. The fountain pen sits on my father's desk at work. Every time he uses it, I hope he remembers the 12-year-old boy who chose it so carefully, hoping to make his grandfather smile. And I hope he remembers that his granddaughter at 24 had the strength to defend what was right, even when it cost her the easy path. That's the real gift Lucas gave us that New Year's Eve. The reminder that family is defined by loyalty and love, not genetics and tradition. And sometimes the children have to teach the adults what that actually means.